drug bust connected to Washington Square Park.
Federal prosecutors have filed charges against 19 people, accusing them of running an open-air drug market.
At dawn, a Texas airport froze, and in the next instant, it exploded with sirens. Federal agents surged through service tunnels, striking at a corruption network that had been feeding the Venezuelan cartel for years. What began as a routine morning inspection transformed into the most sweeping aviation raid of the decade, a takedown of contraband capable of wiping out an entire city. The operation unfolded at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, one of America's busiest air hubs, moving tens of thousands of passengers and tons of cargo every single day. That's precisely why this location became the perfect smuggling corridor. In the chaos of night flights, any technical shipment can disappear in plain sight, especially when airport security leadership looks the other way. And she did, for years. The airport director didn't just cover suspicious flights. She built an entire logistical ecosystem linking private hangars in Texas with relay points in Florida and Nevada. This wasn't a local incident, but a network operating across 3 states, routing narcotics, cash, and fake cargo technicians. No surprise, federal officials called today's raid the largest aviation strike against a Venezuelan cartel in the last 15 years. The scale surpassed anything they had ever seen inside civilian infrastructure. What agents found inside the airport director's private office erased any remaining doubt. This wasn't corruption, it was a fully built criminal infrastructure. Inside lay more than $70 million in cash, packed into vacuum-sealed bricks, 16 encrypted SSD drives protected by dual passwords, and over 3 dozen forged access badges to restricted airport zones. But reaching that office took nearly a year. The investigation began with an anonymous letter sent to the regional HSI office last November. It claimed that leadership inside one of DFW Airport's security divisions is being paid to let nighttime special containers pass without inspection. At first, it looked like another complaint from a disgruntled employee, but everything changed after the first audit of cargo manifests. Several flights from Caracas and Maracaibo showed documents that didn't match warehouse logs. That was enough to greenlight a joint task force, FBI Dallas Field Office, the DEA Tactical Diversion Squad, and the HSI Airport Crimes Unit. Over the next 8 months, agents uncovered what they later called the most sophisticated aviation pipeline a cartel has ever operated on U.S. soil. The scheme used cryptocurrency payments, forged certificates for biomedical reagents, dozens of shell companies in Panama and Florida, and a courier network that transported micro-shipments of fentanyl precursors inside diplomatic containers disguised as aviation repair cargo. The FBI got its first breakthrough in spring, when wiretaps captured a call between a Venezuelan dispatcher and an unidentified woman, whose voice agents recognized as the head of airport security. The conversation referenced a window at 2:15, container 7B, and the team already in position. This matched the moment when a cargo aircraft, empty according to the paperwork, was granted access to a restricted maintenance zone without TSA screening. After that, the investigation entered its active phase. Agents conducted a series of undercover controlled deliveries, handing couriers containers fitted with GPS trackers to map the routes. Nearly all of them led to the same underground hangars, off-limits to unauthorized personnel. Inside, agents discovered infrastructure for rapid repackaging, sorting, and onward distribution to Phoenix, Miami, and Denver. The cartel had built a network of corridors with Dallas-Fort Worth Airport as the central hub. The final trigger for the raid came 3 weeks ago. One of the empty flights suddenly requested an emergency technical landing, but surveillance cameras caught an unmarked truck with coded markings pulling up to the aircraft immediately after it stopped. When agents tapped into the radio channel, they overheard an airport security employee instructing staff to disable Corridor 3 from recording. That was the last straw. The raid order was signed the same day. Inside the director's office, agents found forged documents for warehouse renovations, correspondence with couriers, a notebook listing cryptocurrency transfers, and a roster of loyal employees. Among the seized digital storage, investigators discovered a folder whose name had repeatedly appeared in intercepted communications: VZ Main Chain, likely the cartel's central logistics registry. For federal authorities, this was the proof of a scale they had only suspected. The cartel hadn't merely infiltrated civilian infrastructure. It had fused itself into it so deeply that the airport's own leadership operated as a functional branch of its supply chain. As one agent said after the raid, "We thought it was corruption. Turns out the entire airport was working for the cartel." The criminal scheme agents uncovered after the Dallas-Fort Worth raid turned out to be so vast and multi-layered that individual segments looked like standalone cartels. Yet the entire machine depended on one person, the airport's security director, and her inner circle. The biggest shock came when investigators realized that the core of the operational logistics was her own son. He worked night shifts as a technical flow coordinator, a position that seemed bureaucratic and dull, but in reality granted full access to container movements between cargo gates, maintenance sectors, and underground hangars. He was the one who confirmed routes, altered priorities, opened gates, and launched unauthorized pathways that never appeared in official logs. For the cartel, he was the perfect insider, invisible, shielded by his mother's status, and technically skilled enough to reprogram monitoring systems without leaving a trace. The mechanics of the criminal enterprise. The scheme operated as a fully integrated criminal ecosystem. 1. Shipments. Venezuelan suppliers sent container modules to the Texas hub labeled as aviation tools, biomedical components, or high-precision aircraft repair parts. Inside, however, were fentanyl precursors, cocaine pressed into hardened panels, and at times even weapons, handgun components, and optics hidden in double bottoms. 2. Intermediate processing. Once inside the restricted hangar zones, the cargo was split into 3 streams. Chemical precursors were delivered to laboratories, underground micro-workshops renting warehouses around Dallas and Fort Worth. There, mixing, pressing, and packaging turned them into pills and powder batches ready for distribution to Arizona and California. Cocaine and weapons were stored in hangars until contractor drivers with fake credentials picked them up. People, mostly undocumented migrants from Venezuela and Colombia, were transported as technical workers, hidden inside baggage compartments or empty service modules. They were then funneled into human trafficking networks, where they were used as unpaid labor. 3. Logistics and distribution. The director's son ensured that special containers were placed in zones without cameras or active sensors. His shifts always aligned with arrivals from Caracas, Panama, Costa Rica, and the Dominican Republic. He rerouted container paths in the system so they would disappear between Gate C and the technical hangars. After sorting, the cargo moved in 3 directions: by truck convoys to Arizona, cocaine and weapons; by air cargo to Florida, precursors and part of the pill product; through private Texas airfields, illegal transport of people and lab equipment. 4. Financing and laundering. Payments arrived mostly in cryptocurrency, USDT and Monero. The cartel used a web of shell companies in Panama and Florida, claiming to provide technical consulting or logistics services. Money was funneled back to Venezuela through private exchangers tied to corrupt officials. The director received her share in cash, explaining the $70 million found in her office. Additional layers of the scheme. The cartel didn't limit itself to narcotics. The network included technological smuggling, exporting dual-use microchips and aviation components. Weapons trafficking, parts for automatic firearms and optical sights. Human trafficking, victims transported inside maintenance containers. Illegal housing operations, placing migrants in stash apartments across Fort Worth and Houston. Mobile laboratories, Chinese tablet-style portable precursor reactors. Warehouse chains, rented shell warehouses across 3 states. The threat of scale. The volume of precursors moving through the airport each month could produce doses capable of killing more than 20 million people.
The cartel designed shipments so no 2 streams were identical, meaning even a full interception of one route would never collapse the system. While federal agents were gathering evidence, the cartel had managed to integrate itself so deeply into the airport structure that the facility effectively operated as its own logistics base. More than a dozen employees, from technicians to night inspectors, were in fact cartel operatives, hired through fake subcontractor companies and forged aviation certificates. They knew the camera schedules, had access to service elevators, and could change container markings in ways that even TSA's systems wouldn't detect. Preparation for the raid lasted several weeks. The FBI, DEA, HSI, and Fort Worth Police worked as a single operational unit. In a conference room rented under a false name at a hotel near the airport, they built a detailed assault map, hangar entrances, container movement routes, rooms where armed cartel guards could be positioned. Analysts ran 3D simulations, calculating which doors could be sealed, where traps might be placed, and which corridors could be locked down by compromised security staff. Each night before the operation, officers met in a temporary command post to refine every detail. Who would enter the underground hangars first? Who would block the control tower? Who would cut off the exits along the perimeter? Ensuring absolute silence was essential. Any leak or suspicion could derail months of work and allow the director and her son to disappear along with critical data carriers. Why act on this morning? According to operational intelligence, the container 7B Alpha, one of the largest precursor shipments the cartel planned to push through the Texas hub, was scheduled to arrive that day. Wiretaps also recorded the director's son preparing to wipe the server room, which meant an imminent attempt to erase route logs and internal tracking files. If that happened, part of the evidence would be lost forever. So, at 4:27 a.m., the command center gave the order. The operation begins immediately. Assault teams moved toward the hangars. Tactical units sealed the exits. Technical teams shut down access to communications nodes, and mobile detention stations were deployed along the southern perimeter. Everything was set. Within minutes, the airport that had served the cartel for years would wake up to an entirely different reality. When the final inventory of the seized evidence was completed, even veteran officers admitted they had seen operations of this scale only in international military missions, never inside a civilian airport. Through Dallas-Fort Worth alone, the cartel had quietly moved more than 4 tons of narcotics over the last 2 years, disguising every shipment as technical modules, repair kits, or commercial aviation service cargo. Narcotics federal agents seized 1.7 tons of fentanyl precursors, enough to produce more than 400 million lethal doses. 1.9 tons of cocaine pressed into hardened panels. Bags of tableted product, over 11 million pills fully prepared for distribution. Most of the cargo was packed into container modules with forged FAA certificates and counterfeit maintenance inspection QR labels. Weapons. From the hangars, agents recovered 140 rifle assembly kits, 37 suppressors, military-grade optical scopes, several dozen pistols disassembled and hidden inside boxes labeled Instrument Calibration Kit. The FBI emphasized that this weaponry could have ended up in criminal networks across the entire country. Cash and financial assets.
In addition to the previously discovered $70 million in cash, agents found 16 cryptocurrency wallets on Ledger and Trezor hardware devices, safes filled with gold bars, black accounting ledgers tracking cryptocurrency transfers. The total amount the cartel channeled through the airport may exceed $500 million. Forged documents and equipment. In staff rooms, agents discovered about 120 fake access badges, passports from 5 different countries, encrypted tablets, radio systems with coded channels, servers from the VZ main chain network, which stored the logistics of all shipments.
When federal analysts finally consolidated all the collected data, the truth became undeniable. They hadn't uncovered a corruption scheme. They had exposed a fully operational transportation network, stretching across 3 states and reaching all the way to the Canadian border. Dallas-Fort Worth Airport was its heart, but the arteries extended through Oklahoma, Colorado, and Montana, where shipments moved through fake logistics firms and sham charity foundations that claimed to transport humanitarian aid. Why this was so dangerous? The network gave the cartel 3 decisive advantages. 1. Full route legitimacy. Technical cargo never raised suspicion, and the involvement of a major airport made the operations virtually invisible. 2. Multi-channel redundancy. Even if one shipment was intercepted, others moved simultaneously through parallel pathways. 3. Deep infiltration. Embedded employees controlled critical nodes, routing, documentation, cameras, and access points. This was a system designed to operate without outside error, a DEA agent said. We didn't just disrupt their operation, we severed the spine of the network. Why the scheme survived for years? Corruption inside airport leadership created an environment where even abnormal irregularities looked like everyday noise. The cartel learned to hide inside bureaucratic chaos. Thousands of documents, hundreds of flights, dozens of contractors. Against that backdrop, the disappearance of a few containers per week blended in effortlessly. Furthermore, the use of charity organizations allowed the cartel to funnel enormous sums through the banking system without raising red flags. Donations, humanitarian shipments, transit cargo, everything appeared too clean to question. How the scheme was exposed. Federal agents emphasized that the breakthrough wasn't luck. It was a combination of analytics, cyber intelligence, and undercover penetration. GPS trackers revealed routes that did not match official documentation. Wiretaps flagged priority changes in the routing system, something only an insider could manipulate. Cross-checking aviation logs with the accounting of shell companies exposed discrepancies worth millions of dollars. In past operations, we caught fragments, an FBI representative said. Here, for the first time, we saw the entire chain, and we dismantled it completely. According to agents, this network was far more sophisticated than the operations shut down in Houston or Atlanta. Those were isolated branches of the cartel. In Texas, they discovered the entire integrated network fused with a critical infrastructure hub. Federal agencies already describe this investigation as the most precise and most dangerous cartel logistics operation dismantled on U.S. soil in the past decade. Over 100 arrests, 9 corrupt officials detained, 4 tons of contraband stopped. Officials called it the largest exposure of a Venezuelan cartel logistics structure in recent U.S. history. But as one agent warned, we destroyed their hub. Now they'll be hunting for a new one. The fight continues, and the next operation is already underway.